What's going on, everyone? Welcome back along to the channel. We are almost ready for the kickoff of Super Rugby 2019, and with only a few days remaining before the first match of the opening weekend, we're here to bring you the preview. The preview show is back on the channel, and it wouldn't be a preview show without some special guests coming on the channel. And to kick off the season, we're bringing on the master of SuperBru picks, the one who never puts his house on anything at all, probably because he doesn't have one. But it is Paul, the guy behind the DrivingMaul. Welcome back to the channel, Paul.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. And right, I wish a little, don't cheat, folks. Here's a little competition. Type in down below before he says it how at the end of this movie, at the end of this video, I'm going to say how long Stephen reckoned this video was going to be. So type it now in the comments, and then you'll at the end of the video, I'll tell you how long he said it was going to be.
I mean, we're probably already over that time I said already, and we've only just started.
Not quite, but let's see. Let's see how we go.
We'll see if we get the first match. We'll be past that time. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into it. Before we kick off, though, yellow cap time. It is your last-ditched chance to get your picks into SuperBru. I'm just trying to put the hat over my headphones, as I always retardedly do when I do these videos. But it's your last chance to get involved in the SuperBru pick, so make sure to join the link in the description, of course, on screen now, and you can have your picks and try and take out Paul, who is really the best of what we had to offer last season, sadly. So copy his picks if you're going to copy anyone's and you want to win. But we'll see how the season goes. What's your big tip?
Down, I'm going to win.
What's your big tip for SuperBru this year?
Big tip for SuperBru.
Yeah, who's your dark horse? Who's going to be the one that you're going to look out for this season? Come on, off the cuff. What's the big tip for all the SuperBru players out there?
My word. Look, it's pretty simple, isn't it? There's a tried and steady formula. Always pick the home New Zealand side unless it's the Blues, and always pick a New Zealand side against the opposition, and you're not going to go far wrong. Fairly boring, I know, but there you go. The Sunwolves. Expect them to lose the first 5 and then win the rest.
It's going to be a close table until round 5, and then it's just going to go plummeting down. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into the first match of the weekend, which will be the Chiefs versus the Highlanders. This one is coming from Waikato Stadium. Up your way, Paul. I hope you're going to be going to this game and supporting your second team, the Chiefs. They're up against Highlanders. Now, there's big news coming out of the Chiefs camp today. Massive news.
Absolutely massive news is they've not given me a press pass, and so I can't go because I can't afford it.
Oh.
That's the big news. That's the really sad thing. Is yes, no free pizza for Paul. So yeah, Paul won't be at the game. I will be, here doing a post-match reaction to that show. So straight after that game, I will be doing post-match reaction. So, join me for that on my YouTube channel. Big news is, as you said, we are going to go back to the future. It's 2011 all over again. As someone has put on Twitter, the All Black secret plan is in action because the Beaver is back.
He's back. It's World Cup time. He is the man for World Cup time. So he's back, ready to go. Clearly the Chiefs have got an injury crisis before the season even starts, and that's what they do. I mean, they had this problem last year as well. There needs to be some question marks around their strength and conditioning people, because to have this number of injuries consistently, what are the coaches doing is my question. But he's in because you know what, he's as Cooper said, he wants to replace like for like, bring in an experienced campaigner to replace Ty Falcon, who has very little experience at all. So, if you're, I don't know, if you're the Bay of Plenty, fly half, or who else hasn't been picked up? Someone like actually, he's probably about the only one that hasn't been picked up for Super Rugby. You got to feel really, really in the dumps because, hey, they're going back to Beaver, who legs are kind of, he runs like a kind of like wooden mannequin nowadays. It's a bit of a damning indictment of the of who's available. So the Chiefs haven't had the greatest preseason either with their couple of matches they've played. I mean, they got smashed by the Blues.
Sorry,
squad.
smashed by the mighty Blues.
No, I'm not going that far. Don't push it. They'll be smashed by the mighty Highlanders this weekend, but they did get smashed by the we'll wait and see Blues. That's how they're going to play in a couple of games. But, I mean, we talked about in the preview, didn't we? How thin the squad looks. Already they lost a guy. They didn't really play anyone massive in the game against the Reds a few days ago, where there's pretty much a D team almost that they put out. I mean, like we talked about before, they had Auburn Ledger, former Blues players, playing at fly half for them. Just compounds the issues that you've already talked about. Are they suitably prepared for this season at the state they're in now?
I say there's some pretty big question marks around that coaching setup because they just can't keep a team fit. Now, last season they got away with it with a whole bunch of guys from club rugby coming in and performing well beyond anyone's expectations. Let's be honest, nobody had Carl Down as a starting All Black at the beginning of the season. I mean, no one even knew who he was. Unless you were an absolute mega rugby geek, you'd have never heard of his name. So they are going to have problems this season by the sounds of it around that injury stuff. But they're not the only side playing. They're up against the Highlanders, who, to me, I think have got some pretty big question marks around them at 5/8 as well. So at first 5/8. So I think both of them are going to have pivot issues this weekend.
You straight on to the Highlanders. Who starts at 10? I mean, both of them have got a bit of pre-season time under their belt. Do you think either it's got the big nod early on to get the start, Gatlin with a bit more experience over Ioane, or Marty Banks straight in, bang?
I think we talked about it in the preview. For me, Marty Banks is the guy you bring on to close out a game, so he's your bench player, and you've got to go with Gatland, haven't you? He played for the against the Lions for the provincial Barbarians and stuff. So has got a bit of Blues experience under his belt, but he is a very steady player. But with someone like Aaron Smith inside him, if he's firing, and with those centres, you don't necessarily need someone flash there. So I think he could be the kind of steadying influence, but he needs to. He's one of those players who looks slow on the ball rather than fast on the ball, i.e. he looks like he doesn't have time. So he's going to need to sort that out pretty quick. Otherwise, he's going to get clattered quite a lot.
It's never a good sign.
No.
The old Highlanders had a decent little preseason, though. That game against the Crusaders or the Farmers Cup was a fairly close one, but there always are high-scoring matches, though. It was 43-38. Highlanders, I think, pretty good effort by themselves to get that sort of close to the defending double champions who are going to be the team to beat this season.
Sorry, but hang on. Yes. You talk about these sides that the Chiefs put out, defending double champions. I mean, the entire first-choice team of the Crusaders is not allowed to play yet because they're All Blacks. They probably had one. Bridge was probably about the only guy who started that game or was involved in that game that's going to start normally. So you can hardly use that. And the Highlanders lost to them. So yeah, sorry, no, that was saying that was close is not a good sign.
You're missing the point of trying to take the positives for the Highlanders. On the paper, it looks like a good game that the Highlanders played pretty close to. I mean, I've written this down for a lot of these teams, but no one really has showed a full deck of hand of who they're really going to be good at, or full side this season. But maybe the South African sides later on did have a fairly good chomp at it with their superhero weekend and all that sort of jazz. But New Zealand Australian sides pretty much were hiding a lot of their play. So it's going to be a bit of a different game when the first match kicks things underway. So who have you got to start us off? Chiefs at home, Highlanders. Oh, you'd be clever not to bet off against them.
Exactly, you'd be clever not to bet not to bet for the Highlanders.
No, against
Chiefs,
them.
Oh, against them. Oh, sorry. Chiefs by 5, please. The Chiefs have won the last 3 games between these two teams. So narrow win for the Chiefs.
Oh dear me, we're off to a good start. We're off to a great start already. Highlanders by 3. That's the pick.
And there you go. And that's the last time that that Steve's anywhere near me in the in SuperBru. He tumbles to the bottom of the pack. Look, both sides are going to have raw players, but one of the things I've said
You asked for my big pick, my big tip. My big tip was always back the home team in New Zealand derbies unless it's the Blues. There you go. Chiefs by 5.
You make it sound easy. We'll see. We'll see on Friday night. We'll see indeed. Let's go on to the second game. It's the Brumbies versus the Rebels, GIO Stadium in Canberra. Now, Australia. Now, of course, we haven't talked about the Australian teams very much at all. Shane did the preview with us. If you haven't checked that out, go have a look at that. It'll be on the channel as well. But this Brumbies team, pre-season-wise, didn't look the sharpest. Really
didn't look the sharpest.
I mean,
they thumped the Rebels 52-38. 52-38. They got the half century up there. It's a cricket score.
But against the Waratahs, fell asleep in the last 15-20 minutes completely. And now they're possibly going to be missing Slipper, who was probably one of their linchpins of their new front row. I mean, that's not a good sign early on to be falling asleep that comprehensively at the end of the season. But I will give the Brumbies a little bit of props about how well their backline's playing, particularly guys like Kirandrani, who was fairly impressive in pre-season.
Yeah, the Brumbies side, I think we're going to see pretty much what they are early doors, and they're not going to improve much, I don't think. They're a pretty settled team, especially in that pack, which is what matters. Packs win games, backs by how many, and all of that kind of malarkey. And so they've done some pretty decent recruitment, I think, to replace what they've lost. So to me, I think the Brumbies are going to be one of the most up-to-speed teams at the beginning of the season, I think.
Up against the Rebels, you already talked about these two sides met. Sort of thrashing to the Brumbies. That was my follow-on point that you've already ruined for me. The Rebels also played the Reds. Now, that was 29-26, a bit closer. But question marks are really possibly for the Rebels at 10 with possible injury to Quade Cooper early on the season. Maybe, we haven't seen the teams yet, it's still early in the week, but maybe missing the opening round cause a concern early for the Rebels?
Totally, but and everyone's going to be concentrating on that 10 jersey, aren't they? Because Quade is such box office. He writes your headlines for you. But again, to me, that's not where this game is going to be won and lost. I don't think. I think it's going to be in amongst the forwards, and the Rebels have really replaced a lot of their pack this season. So I think it's going to take them a while for that pack to gel and to work well together. So for me, that's where the Brumbies are going to have the upper hand, and they're going to win this one. So whereas the Brumbies are going to kick off this season as good as they are, the Rebels, I can see having quite a lot of upside to their game during the season. But this game comes too early for them, for me.
Well, we're off to a very, very interesting start early on. Pick the home team, he says. Pick the home team. You've gone for the Brumbies.
Brumbies by 3.
Brumbies by 3. Right, okay. If you want to buck the trend, if you want to be a sparkling individual that doesn't follow the crowd like a sheep, you'll be like me, and you'll pick the Rebels to win this one by 8.
Oh, dearie me. And you wonder why Steve perennially finishes in the bottom half of the table.
Number 1.
Yeah, whatever.
Anything else to add on that delightful match we're going to have between the Brumbies and the Rebels?
No, I guess, yes, one thing. Please don't get so depressed after watching a good New Zealand derby followed by a bad Australian derby. Please try and maintain your hope and your enthusiasm for this tournament longer than 2 games.
Because it's only going to get worse, because next up in action are the Blues. And they're up against the Crusaders.
Oh,
now,
everyone's on the Blues hype train, aren't they?
Are they?
Notting's back, and the best 12 ever to have played the game. Choo-choo! We're on the hype train here. Let's go.
I think everyone outside of Auckland is off that hype train. And as usual, it's pretty much pitchforks at dawn to beat up on the Aucklanders. So we'll be back in definitely the Crusaders on this one. It is at Eden Park, however. How have you found the Blues pre-season? How have you found their build-up? I mean, I've got one thing to say about the Blues and pre-seasons. They are the most impressive pre-season side, I think, going around. They look great. I mean, they won the Tens competition. Was it Tens or whatever the silly format was? They look amazing, and then they flop. Tell me otherwise.
How can you say? Look,
Change my mind.
The Blues beat the Chiefs 43-10. thumped them, then beat the Hurricanes 31-38, absolute thrashing. Look, the Blues, new coach, a bunch of new combinations. It's a side that's going to, again, should have a little bit of upside to them. Terry Black hasn't played. Is effectively a new player. Nonu, obviously, effectively a new player as well with these players. Sonny Williams didn't play much last season, so if he stays injury free, again, that's good. Some question marks around the pack, where I think they're a bit thin, especially in the engine room. But Carl's in there as well, so I think there's at least a skeleton of a decent side here for the Blues. But let's be honest, they are going to take a while to get up and running, and they've got a massive psychological hurdle to get over, and the fact that the Blues just never win.
Now, obviously, we haven't got the teams this early in the week, but a lot of talk about who's going to actually start in this midfield for the Blues. Obviously, you're on the hype train for Ma'a Nonu already, but poor old Sonny Bill, although he's just being abused from Paul Gallen for a boxing fight, is he going to be on the field starting in in the first 15 jerseys, or will he be sitting getting splinters?
I'd give him splinters for the opening game, because being one of the All Blacks, he hasn't had a pre-season, whereas other players have. So I would put him on the bench, bring him off in the second half to cause havoc amongst. Would be the plan for me. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that Pulu or Terry Black, whoever TJ Vaiana, and then Nonu, because it looks like Nonu's been playing 13 in pre-season rather than 12, which has been interesting, which is where obviously he played in the Rugby World Cup final in 2015 in that second half outside Sonny Williams. Let's build this hype train. Let's be honest, folks, the Blues are going to be better, but not much better. So please, this is all just fun. So yeah, that's what I think you're going to probably find is that opening is your lineup initially. And yeah, but they're up against the Crusaders, which we need to talk about the Crusaders. Otherwise, I'll give you a prediction before we even talk about the second team.
Oh, I thought you were going to perfectly lead on to the Crusaders. Come on.
Oh, I can do. Okay.
What are we going to see? Crusaders, have we seen anything from them yet in pre-season?
No.
Anything we're going to even remotely see in the regular season?
Well, they won.
Well, that's true. Which is a difficult task.
So they beat the Highlanders, and they also beat the Hurricanes. So hey, they've another team with a good pre-season. Whitelock, Taylor, Reid all missing the opening round at the very least. So a few All Blacks missing. But let's be honest, they started last season missing an entire All Blacks front row and still went on and won games. So Razor's been talking about the fact that he's having to mix things up because he's had no pre-season games for the All Blacks because the season starts a week earlier this year. But Razor's just a damn good coach at the end of the day. If this was a Blackadder Crusaders team, they'd lose the game. No two ways about it. But this isn't a Blackadder's Crusaders team. This is a Razor team. So you got to say the Crusaders are going to win this one. But I don't think it's going to be by a big margin because I think that, as you say, a lot of their players just have not had any game time.
I'm going to be extremely disappointed that you're not picking the Blues. And I will be even more disappointed if it's less than 10 points.
Oh, I've gone Crusaders by 3.
Oh, and I thought I was being conservative. I've gone Crusaders by just 5. To me, that's just 5. But somehow you've still outdone that, which is 3. So there we go. It is the Crusaders. We're both agreeing on one. Finally, it's only taken till the third match before we actually agree on one. Okay, let's go over the ditch. We're moving across to Brookvale Oval in Manly. Bit of a bizarre place to be playing this matchup. But the Waratahs are up against the Hurricanes. The Waratahs. I do enjoy the Waratahs getting a bit of a thumping, and they've had some as well. They obviously went down to the Brumbies, like we already talked about, and thrashed, absolutely demolished, 59-38 by the mighty Highlanders. Are they holding back a lot, the Waratahs, or you just think they're not up to speed this season?
And the Waratahs have a similar problem to the Crusaders in the fact that their entire back line is Wallabies, and hence they won't have been playing them. It's going to be something like Phipps. I've gotten blank off the top of my head now. So Phipps, Foley, Beale. You're going to have that the cocaine druggie at 13. I've gone blank. The guy who was in the Reds.
Hunt.
Hunt, yes.
Yeah, Carmichael Hunt.
Michael Hunt. Obviously, Flower at the fullback. So, Michael Hunt's the only one that's actually been playing so far this season. All the rest of them will have hardly had any game time pre-season. So, they're going to be rough. Let's be honest. And losses, as you say, to the Highlanders and Brumbies is not very promising. But as that, all those Wallabies have been rested, which means they're going to be as disjointed as a disjointed thing.
I was expecting so much more from that.
I know you have. You've had Shane on too much. Shane does that really well. Yes.
Well, to be a comparison, Shane did compare having a Carmichael Hunt in the Waratahs side or coming off the bench as good as putting a kangaroo on there. So, I mean, that's how much faith he has in Carmichael Hunt. So, not much hope from him, but I mean, he is from Queensland, so it makes perfect sense from his side of things. Up against the Hurricanes. No Beauden Barrett, which, I mean, he joined the list of players missing from the first round, but I mean, the Hurricanes are predominantly a side that does struggle in the first round. I mean, last year we saw they got thumped by the Bulls, didn't they, in the opening round of the competition? So more struggles to kick off for the Hurricanes this year?
But then the year before that, they thumped
I wasn't going that far back.
The Sunwolves by 80. And the year before that, they lost by 70-odd to the was it Waratahs?
It was the Brumbies, wasn't it?
Brumbies.
Yeah.
So
the year after they won it, they got absolutely creamed.
So yeah, so it's one of these ones where basically the Hurricanes, it's going to be a big win or a big loss, isn't it? Over the last 3 years, it's going to be a big score one way or the other. So hence I've gone for a narrow margin. But
surprise.
So yes, this one could blow out either way. As we say, that Waratahs side does have a bunch of Wallabies in there, so if they do click, they can rack up the points. But equally, the Hurricanes are probably the most exciting attacking team in Super Rugby. Let's put no bones about it. The big problem for them is the lack of Beauden Barrett, and the drop off from him down to I've gone blank. Fletcher Smith is going to be interesting because Fletcher Smith just doesn't know TJ and doesn't know Laumapi at all. So it's how I mean, you got two All Blacks inside and outside you, so perfect. And Laumapi is one of those players who, if you're in trouble, just throw it to him, he'll bash someone over. So it's the perfect setup for a young fly half, to be honest. The only question is he how well he fits in there. You got to say Hurricanes in this one, but as I say, they blow hot and cold in the opening game of the season, don't they?
You think Fletcher Smith will start over Garden Bishop?
I hope so. Jeez.
Well, I mean, you've got that. You talked about the lack of experience of them playing together. Garden Bishop was there last year.
True. And sometimes Ohio West played ahead of him. So, I mean, really, I mean that just shows you how as to how far the pecking order Garden Bishop is.
We know how much of a fan of Ohio West you are.
Absolutely. So for a person who can't keep Ohio West out of the side, Fletcher Smith should walk in there. And Fletcher had a really good Minor 10 Cup season with Waikato, to be honest, so I saw quite a lot of him up here, and he also took them to a promotion championship winning side. So yeah, I think give him a go.
So you're going Canes, are you, by what, 2 points?
Canes by 5.
Oh, 5. Wow. Hang on, everyone compose yourselves here. I've got the Hurricanes by just 4.
Wow.
I know.
Okay, we're both wrong, okay, everybody? This is going to be by 20 or 30 to one side or the other. But just who is anybody's guess.
It's a possibility it could be something like, 55, 52, That's a quite large possibility. Defence is probably, at sea.
Yes, there is a chance of that. But I say both these sides could rack up some serious points. So combine if you're looking for that gambling thing, a sort of combined total of 100 wouldn't be a bad one to go for.
Speaking of a combined total of 100, it's off to Singapore we go for the Sunwolves. They're up against the Sharks. And a perfect little segue there. I mean, the Sunwolves, they always deal this card, don't they, with their top league in Japan, coming straight off that, straight into Super Rugby. Very little preparation, I guess, as a unit of a team, especially with all the changes they've gone throughout the off-season. You got to say what you said earlier, 5 rounds. Maybe not before they win, but 5 rounds probably before they actually click together as a squad.
So the 5 rounds thing was because the Japanese international team are missing the first 5 rounds of the season.
That's going to make it even worse.
So basically, you're looking at a sort of midfield. I've gone blank as to who their fly half is. The ex.
Yep, the Highlanders guy, Hayden Parker.
So you're going to have Hayden Parker. You're then going to have
Jason
Little, isn't it?
Michael
Little, sorry. And then Rennie Ranger, kind of as your. So this is effectively going to be a Mice 10 Cup Barbarians team to start off with until the Japanese internationals come back.
That's going to make them struggle.
Maybe, but I'll tell you this. I found this one to be the hardest game to call all weekend.
Ooh, elaborate.
The Sharks are the worst team compared to this team on actual paper out of the whole of Super Rugby, for my mind. They promise so much, but they deliver so little. When you have a pre-season game that is 7-all with the Bulls, that is absolutely abysmal. We've got other sides that basically, sides generally do not want to get injured, so they don't defend too hard. And these two sides could only get 7 points each. Most of the other games are like 30 and 40 points each. What is going on there? Now, either they are totally battle hardened and they're already at full speed, or they're an absolute beep. That's my problem with the Sharks is they should have been pushing the Lions last season. If you look at who's on paper, but they were just nowhere. They weren't even at the races. So, and their away form is absolutely abysmal. So that's really why I found this one very difficult. Yes, you look at this one and you go, oh, it's a Sharks win all day. And then you remember who the Sharks are and go, oh dear. It's just so, yes, I've gone Sharks by 3, but it's with absolutely zero confidence.
I kind of follow on from what you said there about that game and what we said earlier. The South African teams, I think, are the most ready for the season. They've played their best players, they've played their best combinations, they've had time together, they've played good opposition, bar the Stormers who only half did. They've done big work already. A lot of these other sides, you put out the top 30 players who've maybe played half a match between them. So you got to say they've got to go into the season and they've got to be the teams that are definitely, I think, up to speed.
True, but the other side of it is that the Sunwolves did really well against like the Stormers and the Bulls when they travelled to Hong Kong and stuff. So the Sunwolves don't mind not playing in Japan and playing in Hong Kong or Singapore. So that's not going to be a problem for them. And South African sides just don't like travelling, but they just don't like leaving Africa. Let's be honest. So I think, whilst this one should be an easy call, I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you actually, because what have you got? The Sharks by 3, if I'm not mistaken. Well, I mean, everyone sit down again, because I've got the Sharks by 2. Only by 2.
Oh, my word.
Oh, I tell you, I think I'm learning something maybe after all these years. Possibly something sinking into there. Yeah, I didn't find this hard to pick. It's easy to beat Sharks, I think, to win it. But what I found difficult was the margin more because, yeah, like you've said, travel is a big thing. 7 teams going to play the Sunwolves, obviously away matches, but it's just don't know what to expect from the Sharks. Yes, I look at their pre-season, I see what they've done, I see they've played, impressive squad on paper, impressive, everything about them looks good, but we said the same thing last year. And they were better, but they are definitely not up to potential. And I just hope they do play that well this season because they've got a really, really good squad. And, I mean, I'd be more than happy if they beat the Sunwolves by 40 points this weekend. And we can go, yeah, we've got a good South African team with the Lions, hopefully. So, yeah, we're agreeing, close by. Let's go on to the 6th and penultimate match of the weekend. Bulls versus the Stormers. We are off to Loftus. This is an interesting one. Bulls you've already talked about. 7-7 pre-season form. Ooh, they beat the Lions. How much do you read into that? Better Bulls team this year?
I don't read anything into that one, to be honest with you. That was before the superhero doubleheader, where they lost to the Stormers. So the Bulls have played more games than anyone else, by the looks, having played three warm-up games. So yeah, they beat the Lions, lost to the Stormers, and then had a 7-7 draw with the Sharks, which maybe because they beat the Lions, maybe they peaked early, and that's it. They're on downhill from there on.
Oh, Jesus. That's grim.
Sorry, a bit harsh there, maybe. So everyone's talking about the Bulls being basically a rebuilding season for them. But they're up against the Stormers, who are showing us kind of what can happen off the pitch in South Africa when it all just absolutely goes to pot. The politics, the wrangling, they are an absolute disaster off the pitch, into the stage where I think they're being talked about them going bust and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, the Stormers, can the players actually concentrate on the pitch? We've seen what's happened with the Kings, when players don't know if they're going to get paid and stuff, and how their performances just go down the toilet. With this Stormers side, who knows what we're going to get? We could get a decent team, or we could get a team that's so distracted with off-field issues that they just can't concentrate at all.
You got a pretty good team on paper too with the Stormers. I mean, that back row definitely has some immense talent. They got guys all through: Springboks, the Allendies, John Duplessis, the Willemses. All these guys, really top level talent. It'll be a shame if they don't definitely step up this season. But you did steal my next point, which was that already match played between them. Obviously, Stormers beating the Bulls 33-28. Do you think you can read much into that about how this match is going to go? And big battle for this match, what I'm really looking forward to, Pollard versus Willemse. Going to happen?
Well, I don't see why not. I mean, Willemse was fantastic. I mean, I looked at the Stormers last season and went, wow, a great team with no halfbacks, basically. And Willemse stood up and showed us that sure, he had zero experience, but he played really well. So with that under the belt, the Stormers, as you say, should push on. And everything I've said negative about the team has got nothing to do with the actual players, nothing to do with the squad itself. It's all to do with the administration. They should do well. The big difference between that game and this game was that game was at sea level. This game's at altitude. And so because of that, I'm backing the Bulls by 5 in this one because, I think altitude is going to be the one that tells.
And you also missed out one preseason match as well. It was a really good, close matchup. The Stormers went up against the Bolland Cavaliers.
Yes.
And that was a close one. 87 points to 5. Absolute classic. That will make them absolutely ready. And for that reason alone, Stormers by 10.
The Currie Cup Division 2 side that they beat. Congratulations. Yes, well done.
And conceded a try in the process.
So, I say the Stormers, you say, a team we look at and go, they should kick on. They should be good. They've got the ingredients. Whereas the Bulls, I think it's a bit more rebuilding. So you'd expect the Stormers to finish above the Bulls, I think, overall. But I think at this stage, I'm just home advantage at altitude for me.
I'm a bit concerned. I'm just looking through what I've actually picked here, and I've picked every single away team so far, which is a really, really good effort. I'm really, really impressed with what I've done here so far. Speaking of big wins, let's go on to our final fixture of round one.
Come on.
Let's get into it.
Stormers by how many? What's your prediction?
10.
Oh, 10. Okay.
10 big ones. What were you going by?
Bulls by 5.
5. That's pretty big for you as well. Final match. We talked about that big game with the Stormers, the pre-season match. Now, the Jaguares did a similar thing, and they're up against the Lions. They took on Uruguay, the powerhouse of World Rugby. Now, this was a cracker as well. 61-0. I mean, they must be primed and ready to go, surely.
Uruguay, who just recently beat Canada.
Who's nowhere near good enough for Argentina 8.5.
Uruguay off the Rugby World Cup. Say they've just beaten Canada and Chile in the last 2 weekends. They're a decent side. So if that was the Uruguay first team, then the Jaguares have clicked early, and they've clicked early well, to be honest, because that is the Uruguay are no mugs as far as tier 2 teams go. This one, I just decided, you know what, there's one thing to follow here, is that these two teams have met 7 times, and every single time the home team has won. So hence, I'm just going Jaguares because of that. I think missing Sanchez will be a massive loss for them. That's my one big concern about Jaguares this year, is that they don't have a decent 10. I don't think.
Yeah, well, local people would disagree with you. Quite a few comments did come in from the South African conference preview, where a lot of us talked about how the new coach of the Jaguares, is actually closely related with a lot of the guys who they did actually bring in. Not as in actually related, but related as in playing time together. So the new guy they've got in, Benelia and Miotti. Now, their coach has played with these guys and coached these guys quite a bit already. And these aren't inexperienced kids. They actually have a bit of experience. Benelia is a 29-year-old from memory who has actually played a pile of games there and is quite an experienced player. Obviously, with the coach, combination, knows what he's offering, knows what he's getting himself into. So, yeah, on plain sight to a couple of scrubs from New Zealand, yeah, I can see why that does look, but I think you probably would get a bit more confidence from an Argentinian perspective of what these guys can offer, knowing that where they've come from as a combinational team. So, I don't know, I've got a bit more faith about the side. I mean, the rest of the team just looks fantastic. I'm always a huge fan of the Jaguares. And, I mean, with the Lions, though, I mean, they don't like going to Argentina. They never like going to Argentina. How many times have we seen them? Oh, what was it? Two years ago, was it? What was it? 3 years ago. Well, their last game of the round.
They've been 3 times, and they've lost every game. But yes, 3 years ago was when it first happened.
And they lost top spot, lost the home final, lost the final, crashing down. The Jaguares are the culprits for the Lions' demise. How's that for a headline? New Zealand Herald. Give us a ring.
Battle of the Cats. The Lions, let's be honest, have been chipped away at again. They've lost. I've gone blank now. But they've lost a couple of players in the off season. They've lost one of their locks, who was the best line-out stealer in the competition last year. Oh,
Franco Mostert, you mean?
Yeah, Mostert. There we go. That's right. Who's gone to Gloucester? So they're not the team they were 3 years ago. They've just been slowly chipping away, losing the odd player here or there, and that added to the fact that they never win in Argentina means I'm going Jaguares by 7.
Whoa, that's huge for you. They also lost Jaco Kriel as well, which I think is a massive, massive loss. Gloucester is absolutely licking their lips at what they've picked up from the Lions this season. I agree with you. I'm going Jaguares, but not by 7. Jeez, monumental. That's huge by you. I'm going just by 2. This is nice and conservative, and picking the home team.
The only home team is going to win all weekend.
Yeah, you got it. You're on the mark. See, you're learning as well.
Okay, folks. Put bluntly, if you finish below Steve in after week 1 in SuperBru picking, Give up. Just don't do it. It's just picking is not for you. Okay.
You didn't get your picks in time. That's probably what happened.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's crazy. You do not. If you look back at your picks and see you've gone all away teams, you know you've got it wrong. I'm sorry.
I'm thumbing up, double thumbs up. Best picks in the league. Best picks. I'll see you. I'll wave to you at the bottom when I'm up the top there with my big upset wins for the weekend. It's going to be 6 of them. 6 big ones. There we go. We're done. We're done. We're done nicely right inside my time limit that I predicted, which is absolutely perfect. So just smoking it.
No. Okay, folks. We're nowhere near the time limit. So what did you put down in that comment at the beginning of the show where I said how many minutes was the show going to be? Steve reckoned we'd be done in 12 minutes. So if you put 12 in there, then fantastic, well done. If you put the hour, which I think what most of us thought this was going to be, then that was much more realistic. And Steve, yet again, his predictions, million miles out.
But who's got the yellow cap? Question me that. I've got it on my head right now.
It's all about the money. It's all about the money. Yeah, we can all go down. We can all go down the shop and buy ourselves a cup if we want to.
No, not down here. No, it's post service. It's online post service down here. Get it down. Right, we're done. Paul, where can people find you? Where can people find some real picks for Super Rugby weekend?
So DrivingMaul Rugby Predictions is where my predictions are on YouTube or drivingmaul.com. And also, I will be doing live post-match reaction to the Chiefs versus the Highlanders. And I think I'm going to also do the Blues versus the Crusaders as well. And that'll be on DrivingMaul YouTube channel. That second one I'm not so sure about because I may get dragged out to take the kids to the Lantern Festival. But if I'm not being dragged around the Lantern Festival, then that's where I'll be.
So many questions I'm not even going to ask. Not at all. That is us. Done for round 1 of Super Rugby. Thank you everyone for joining in. Hope you've enjoyed it, had a good chuckle, and we will see you for round 2. We'll have plenty more great picks, and hopefully some more guests as well. Until then, thanks for watching. As always, take care.
Missing you already.